Hello, everyone, and we are live. My name is Mario, for those that don't know me, and I am part of the developer relations team here at Amazon. And as usual, I am joined by my lovely colleague, Anisha. Anisha.
Hey guys, my name's Anisha. As Mario said, I'm on the developer evangelism team with a focus on apps and games.
Thank you, Anisha. And as usual, we are live here to share with you, to drop some knowledge, I would say, about some exciting new topics. Before we jump in on today's session, as usual, I want to share a little bit of housekeeping for today's session. So, first of all, we are all here to learn. So, please be respectful of each other in your comments. Speaking of which, if you have any question or comments, please add them in the chat. It doesn't matter if you're following us on Twitch or on YouTube. You can use the chat on these services to engage with us. We will see your comments, and I will try to, answer your questions or comments as soon as possible. So the other thing that I always want to mention is to, if you like what you see today and you want to share with the world, please use the hashtag Amazon FireSide Chat, which is again the name of today's show. And you can do it as during the session. You can do it after the session as well. And again, the idea is to again try to learn something new. We're here to share some very interesting technology today, I would say. In particular, we have quite a few very cool things that we want to share with you. So I would say, why don't we actually jump on today's topic, which is voice control on Fire TV. So once again, we're talking about Fire TV. And in the past, we've been touching a lot of different topics, which is how you can build a good UI for Fire TV, how you can build a very performant Fire TV application. Today, we're actually getting into something that is, I would say, very unique and specific for Fire TV, but is also very intriguing and exciting. And I would say it's a new pattern of how users are engaging with their devices, which is voice. So voice, as you will see in today's presentation, is a very, I would say, very cool, very interesting new way of interacting with device. Because as you know, when a customer is using their TV device, they are just probably relaxing on their couch. And what best experience there, instead of like fiddling with their remote control to search for something, why can you not just control your what's going on screen using your voice? And that sounds very, very cool and very easy to say when it's like, okay, Alexa, stop playing or start playing or next episode. But actually, there is quite a lot going on from the inner workings of how you can adjust your applications to do that, to use the intrinsic Alexa layer of that is available on all Fire TV devices. So I know that Anisha has prepared a very great presentation with a lot of code as well. So today we're going to go very technical on this. We'll try to go, step by step, and to pace it as well. We have a lot of lines of code to share. Don't worry, everything that we share today is available on our documentation as well. So we'll be sharing some links as well of what you can find. But if you have any questions, if something's not clear, please add in your comments, and as Anisha goes through the presentation, I will keep an eye on the comment section, and every once in a while we will pause to make sure that everyone can also jump in. So Anisha, I think we can. Oh, I see that you're still preparing the presentation. So let's see if we have right now. No worries, Don.
There we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
So amazing. Let me actually take off the banner, and then it's you up.
I've just realized that I have not turned my Alexa off, so she might pipe up.
That's
classic. Okay,
Classic.
cool. So today we're going to be talking about voice control on Fire TV. And there's a couple of ways you can do voice control, but with today's session, we're going to focus on one particular one, which is the media API. But before I jump into that, I do want to touch on like all ways you can use voice control on Fire TV. So with the release of the Fire TV Cube and the ability to now link your Echo devices to Fire TV, customers can interact with their TVs in a hands-free way. They can ask Alexa to play content, search for content, control playback, change channels, all just by using their voice, which is great because that just makes that TV experience even more relaxing. So even without the Fire TV Cube or paired Echo, customers can still can still use voice by just pressing that button on the D-pad remote, the microphone button, and using voice commands to control the Fire TV. And this is also known as near field control. So it's becoming ever more important to enable voice in your applications. And I just want to show you like what voice looks like with Fire TV. So I've got a little clip here for those of you who may not have interacted with voice on Fire TV, just to show you what voice enabling your app might look like. So I'm going to show that on screen now.
Incoming. You have signatures detected.
Alexa, fast forward 2 minutes.
Captain on the bridge.
Not too shabby, huh?
Alexa, rewind 30 seconds.
I'd say you're too confident.
So as you can see, there's many ways that you can enable voice to do different things within your application. So how would you voice enable your application? So you can do so in one of three ways. So the first is using the video skills kit. And I'm not going to go too much into what the VSK is, but I'll just give you a brief explanation of what it is and where you can find some more information on this. So you can integrate the VSK for your Fire TV app so that customers can use natural language commands, as you saw, to search for app's content, launch your app, control media playback, but also things like changing the channel. And much, much more. So implementing the VSK, however, involves a lot more kind of groundwork. So you have to build a Lambda to support the directives that you give from Alexa. You have to integrate the Alexa client library and then handle the cloud to app communication through ADM, as well as implement catalog integration. Is also a requirement to implement VSK for Fire. When you implement VSK, it's also a requirement to have integrated catalog integration. So there is a lot more requirements for using VSK, and at the moment it is only available to certain app partners. But with VSK, you get some additional functionality. So you can get app launching, where a customer says a specific word or phrase, like Alexa automatically launches the correct Fire TV application. You can do quick play, so you could say Alexa play then your show's name, and she will automatically do this. You can search, and you can use the normal transport controls like play, fast forward, as well as channel changing. So there's a lot of capacity with VSK. And the second one is in-app scrolling and selection. So with the Fire TV Cube, we allowed users to perform scrolling and selection using common Alexa phrases again. The in-app voice scrolling and selection works by mapping the D-pad navigation to your voice commands. So the remote control's directional keypad would be mapped to your voice commands. Alexa then converts these voice commands into those D-pad navigation events that are sent to your app. So in-app scrolling and selection is a feature that Amazon manually activates on the backend for apps, after ensuring that the app will support these commands. So Amazon is gradually increasing these number of apps with scrolling and selection enabled. And that brings me on to the final implementation, which is what I want to focus on today, which is the media session API. I'm going to pause here briefly in case, Mario, you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, so I think that, again, there are, thank you, Alicia, these are three very different aspects, I would say. Like VSK is very much kind of a premium experience, very complex, very a lot of different moving parts, and that's why right now it needs a lot of hand holding from us, and only a few partners right now we have capacity to onboard with this technology. However, the other two are actually something that is available to everyone. And I think that's the interesting part of what we're going to see today is that in-app scrolling, if you have built your application in a way that deeper navigation works fine, it will automatically map to that. So, and again, there will be some behind the scene testing that our team does, but most applications will just work out of the box. And you don't have to do anything. There is no additional SDK or implementation that you have to do. And the media session API, again, I don't want to give too many spoilers of what we're going to see today. But first of all, it's just, I would say that the vast majority of what we're going to see today is just good Android development practice for developing a media and entertainment application. If you're building a media app, you are likely going to implement the media session anyway. There are just a couple of additional tricks that you can do to then make sure that the media session API plugs well with the voice experience. And that's available to everyone. Again, it's not a premium feature or a selected feature that only certain developers can access. It's something that any developer can jump on and implement. You can do it straight away, right away, following the lines of code that we're sharing today. So that's extremely powerful. That means that even if your application might not be able to get the all the catalog integrated goodness that you get with catalog integration, you will still provide in a very rich voice experience to your customers. And like if we're thinking about the type of interaction that a lot of customers have once they are inside the content, mostly is about playing, pause, and then controlling the what's the next episode is, or to rewind, to go back. And all of that is actually packaged inside the media session API, which makes it extremely powerful and very accessible as well to developers.
Thanks for sharing that, Mario.
No worries.
Yeah, let me jump into what is the media session API. So as Mario said, if you don't have that bandwidth or resources, or it's a simple application, and you don't want to implement VSK, or if your planned implementation is maybe say some months in the future, you can prioritize maybe enabling the media playback through your app using the media session API. So the media session API, as Mario said, is an Android API that allows streaming applications to receive voice media commands, and it is a recommended best practice for handling events from remote controls, Bluetooth, ADB, Fire TV, or companion apps, and much, much more. So integrating the media session allows customers to say commands such as play, pause, rewind during that media playback. And these commands work both in near field and far field devices. So media session won't let users perform the more advanced voice controls described in the VSK, like launch my channel or skip to the next video in this series, but it will allow you to do those basic controls that enables playback. So if you've already implemented the media session in your app, most developers might have, you can voice enable media session in just 5 steps. So what are those 5 steps? So the first step would be to initialize the media player. Then we initialize the media session. Then we configure the actions, manage media session in the activity lifecycle, and set up media session callbacks. So don't worry, I'm not going to just end this live stream there. I'm going to go through each of the steps. So the first one is integrating the Android Media Session API. So to integrate Android Media Session API into your app and enable voice commands, there is one caveat that you must have API level 21 or higher. If you do, the first step would be to add the voice command permission to your Android manifest with this little snippet shown on screen. And this is what will allow Fire TV to recognize that your application is voice enabled. So a little brief overview of what voice commands you can use. So there's play, pause, fast forward, rewind, next, previous, and restart. So I'm going to go through how you can implement each one of these in more detail. But before we jump into more detail of each of those methods, how does the media session implementation actually work? So there are 2 main components, the media session and the media player. The media session provides a set of callbacks that are linked to the actions that are available to the media player. So if there's an action like play in the media player, the media session will have a callback called onPlay. The voice control directly map these media session callbacks. So every time a customer executes a voice command, the media session callback will be invoked as well. So let's take an example. So let's say the customer says, Alexa, pause. Then the on pause callback of the media session is called. And what we will need to do is then invoke the actual media player method pause from within the media session callback. The media session acts like that middleman between the Alexa commands and the actual media player within your app. So how do we implement this within your application? So the second step was to initialize the video player. So to do this, there's a couple of steps. In the onCreate, we set the content of our layout and then initialize the media player itself. So that's the first line of code you can see. There are many media players that you can use with your Fire TV application, but for the sake of today's tutorial, we'll just use the standard Android video view, which has the most common callbacks that you would expect from a media player. Next, we want to initialize the media controller and video URI. So we do this on the onStart method, which is where we will initialize that media controller. The media controller that displays on screen is what shows you the current media status of the media and some basic information like the controls. Once we've initialized this, we pass the media controller to the media player by using the method set media controller. So you can see this in the second line. So we set that. We then pass the video URI, which is the address of the media we want to play. In this case, it's hard-coded to just be myvideourl.mp4. But in the real world, like this address would probably come from your backend service. And finally, we request to focus the video. It is good practice to initialize the media session once we've already initialized the video player, so that once we initialize the media session, the video player is ready to play our content. So how do we initialize the media session? This is a mistake, sorry. How do we initialize the video session? Sorry about that. Most video players provide a listener, which advertises that the video player is ready to play content. So in this case, the video player provides us with the onPrepared listener class. And this provides us with that onPrepared callback, which you can see is a part of that onPrepared listener class, which is what will signal the video player that it is ready to go, that it's ready to play content. Once we have done this, we can then initialize a new media session, which receives the application context as a parameter and a string, which is a tag to uniquely identify this particular media session. This is important because we want to keep track of which media session our app is talking about. We can then set the callbacks using the method setCallback. So media session.setCallback, and we look at these callbacks later in a few minutes. But what we can do is pass the get media session callbacks to this method. And finally, we set the media session flags. These flags map the basic remote control buttons to our media session. Even though the customer can use voice, it is important to map to the physical device too. I'm going to pause again in case we have any questions thus far. If not, Mario, is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I don't see any questions, but guys, please, if there is anything that is not clear, please add in there. No, I think, again, one thing that is important to call out is that we are using an example here, which is the video view that is just provided by the standard Android API. Most of the time, you will use maybe a more advanced video player, something like Exoplayer, for example, which is usually much more rich in callbacks and is more complex, but it will likely have pretty much the same type of callbacks, and it will provide the same type of you can still build a media session using something like Exoplayer and plug it into that specific video player. But yeah, I would say if you're building this for the first time and you don't want to also have to deal with the complexities of something like Exoplayer, just to try things out and build out a simple demo, you can use the video view, which is it works fine.
There actually was no mistake. The slide is actually okay. Sorry, I just realized
Yeah.
my screen was lagging. Oh, okay. So we're on step 3 now, which is adding the actions to our media session. So what we want to do is add each of those callbacks to our playback state and media session. So we do this on the onPrepare method. So here we initialize the media session. We now create a new variable called playback state. This component is used to tell the underlying media session the current state of the playback, whether it's played, paused, or whether we want to buffer. It also defines which actions can be performed in the media session. So this is why we use the method setActions. As you can see, this is where we define all the actions that we want our application to be able to perform. We then set the playback state to playing, and the current position by default returns 0. And then we pass a float, which is indicating the speed of the playback, with 1 being the normal speed. After we've done this, we set the playback state to the media session and activate the media session by setting media session set active state to be true. So this will initialize that playback state, and then we can define our lifecycle methods. So managing the media session in the activity lifecycle is how we can then create instances where customers can interact by voice with our application using those actions that we defined. So when a customer does do this interaction, this voice overlay appears on screen, which shows the Alexa interaction. And this is why at this stage we want to pause the playback and gracefully manage that behavior of our entire application. So the first method is the on pause. So in the on pause method of our activity, we need to create a new playback state called paused. We then want to actually pause the video player. After that, we set the media session to not active, and we still need to pass the new playback state to the media session itself. We need to set the actions again, because if we don't set the actions again, the newly created playback state would technically be actionless. So it wouldn't map the voice commands to the media session itself, and it wouldn't be possible to use the voice commands in this playback state, which is why we pass all our playback actions again to the media session. And then we hit build. For the on resume, it's a very similar methodology. As you can see, we set the media state to active, we set the state to playing, and then we create a new playback state, still setting the actions. On stop, again, very similar. However, here we call the video player and we say video player, and we call the method stop playback. And this is to ensure that when we gracefully stop our application, we also set the playback state and again set the actions. Finally, we have the on destroy, which is the final activity lifecycle that we need to manage ourselves. And the on destroy is called when the application itself is terminated. The only thing we need to do here is ensure that we release the media session, which might then be used by other applications. So those are how we manage the methods, activity lifecycle methods within our application. But how do we set the media session callbacks? This is where the magic actually happens. This is where we connect the voice commands and the actual behaviors of our media player itself. So as I mentioned, the callbacks mimic the commands of the media player. So we have 5 callbacks that we want to set up. We have the on start, on pause, on seek to, on fast forward, and on skip to next. So for the first one, which is play, we set the playback state to play, start the media player, and then update the playback state with the current position of where we are in the video, and then we hide the media controller. We want to ensure that the customer has the full screen experience. On pause is very similar. We set the playback state to paused, we pause the media player, and then update the playback state accordingly, again with the position. We can also show the user the media controller at this point.
if I can add one thing on the on-pause
Yeah.
method, this is something that I experienced myself as I was implementing this, because as we just saw, there is an on-pause method for the activity lifecycle, and then there is this on-pause method, which is for the media session callback. And what I did wrong when I was implementing this is that I put the on-pause callback code inside the activity lifecycle code, which is understandable. Like, it's the same. It was an understandable mistake because it was they have the same name. The difference that you can think about this is that when you're thinking about the activity life cycle is when the actual activity stops and pauses. Well, here is the action of pausing the media inside the media player. So it's just saying this because it might create some confusion because they have the same thing. So make sure that you're implementing the right on pause separately. One is the activity lifecycle one, and the other one is the callback for the media session. Sorry, Anisha.
No. So next we have the on-seek to, and this is what really shows us how powerful voice implementation can be. This method allows us to fast forward the content by a certain amount of minutes, seconds, or hours. And this method is invoked when the customer says, for example, Alexa, fast forward by 1 minute. The Alexa voice controls automatically convert. There she goes. Sorry. The voice controls automatically convert what the time the viewer says into milliseconds. In this case, the amount is passed to the seek to method as the variable POS. And the great thing here is you as developers don't really need to do anything to correctly pass what the customer is saying, as this is automatically managed by Alexa. However, the customer can just say fast forward without specifying a certain amount of time. And in this case, we can call the fast forward callback. This would be the fast forward callback would be invoked. We would pass a predefined amount of milliseconds. In this case, we're passing 10 seconds. So 10 times 1000 milliseconds. And the last method that I want to talk about is the on skip to next. And this method really depends on how you have implemented your application and how you want to fetch your next video. You will most likely create your own method, skip to next video, which will contain all the code of how you want your application to manage skipping to that next video. So just to recap the steps. So first we initialize the video player. Then we initialize the media session. Once we did that, we configured our actions. Then we managed the media session in our activity lifecycle. So the activity lifecycle methods of on pause, on play. And then we set up the media session callbacks themselves. So our implementations of what we want our application to do if those callbacks were to be invoked. So it's a lot of information, and I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. But before we jump into that, I do want to say that all this code is actually available in a sample application. So if you head to this link on screen now, or I will post that link on screen as well. Sorry, give me 1 second. There we go. So that link on screen, maybe Mario, if you don't mind putting it in the chat, you can see all the code we talked about today, and see how it works in a real life example of a application that is controlled by voice invoking this media session API. So I think that's it from our presentation side. So I'm going to just hand over to Mario. Maybe if you have anything to add. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I can go back to any slides and maybe explain it again if need be as well.
Thank you, Anisha. That was actually great. As you guys have seen, it's actually, there's a lot of code, but the concept is actually fairly easy. Is initialize everything, then we have we need to add and manage the activity lifecycle, so it gracefully reacts to our media session implementation. Then we implement the callbacks, and the callbacks basically activate the action on the media player itself. So it's once you look at the code, it's actually fairly trivial. There are a few callouts that I want to give from my experience, in particular if you're playing with a video view. Everything that Anisha said is correct. There is one thing that I think doesn't work with the video view, which is one callback that you will find in our documentation, which is called on skip to previous. The on skip to next works, so it just gives the command to move to the next video, and you can implement that in any way you want. However, the on skip to previous, I think it's a callback that is just not available in the video view, in the basic Android video view. It's available in a lot of other players, and you can just use that. But keep in mind that it's not something that, if you try to implement that callback, there's just no previous method available in the video view. Apart from that, again, this is very powerful because allows in just a couple additional steps to get full control of the media transport experience on Fire TV. And when that is combined with something like the navigational part of it, which is just given you by default by the Alexa transport layer, which is, again, as we said before, it just requires you to do a correct implementation of D-pad. Immediately, navigation of your app becomes hands-free. You can move left to select a specific movie. You can say Alexa select and then Alexa play, and it will start playing the content. One thing that we also want to call out is that the media session can also, interestingly, be used even outside of if you have a media player. So, for example, you could have your main UI and implement the media session callback play, for example, to go from one screen, and let's say that you want to start playing that specific content. You can use that. You can use the media session to do that as well. And this doesn't apply just to video. It applies to audio as well. You can do play, pause, skip to next as well with audio as well, which is actually pretty great. So we have posted the links to the test application. You can just install that on your Fire TV, and it will work out of the box, and you can start playing with the commands that we've given. And there is actually quite a lot of documentation on our developer portal. You'll always be able to review this presentation on Twitch for the next few weeks, but on YouTube, and is going to be available forever on YouTube, so you can go back and check that one out anytime on demand as well. So I would like to open up to questions now. We have a few minutes available. So if you guys have any question about Fire TV and voice controls in whatever we just presented, if there was anything that wasn't clear, we can go back and see what the slides look like as well. So again, guys, please shoot us any question. We'll stay here for a few minutes and talk over it again, so you have a few minutes to think about it and ask your questions, and then we'll close the session. But again, we're here for you. So also, if you have any question about anything that you've seen in previous sessions, or also anything you would like to see in the future, please let us know, because again, we're always thinking about what's the next thing to say. Actually, that's a good segue into calling out that we will not be live next week. So we've been live for I think it's been almost 3 months in a row now. So we're taking a little bit of a break for next week. It's Easter week, so we will not be live, and we will be back the week after, which is I think the week of the 25th of April. The last week of April will be back with a lot more content. So I see, thanks for the demo. That was actually a pre-recorded demo, but yeah, all the code is available to you, and you can just go and play with it. Um, Good stuff.
I mean, we
Awesome.
can.
Anisha, I don't know if yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, so for when we come back from the Easter break, our topic will be push notifications and ADM. So really interesting topic. And we have some new announcements coming down the pipeline. I can't say anything now, but we do have some new announcements around push notifications and ADM. And hopefully we can intro them when we do this session. If not, subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe to the dev portal, keep your eye out. But we will be covering push notifications and ADM when we're back from Easter.
Yeah, so that's good stuff. We try to span a lot of different topics as well. We've been talking a lot about Fire TV and tablets, but a lot of you actually reach out to us afterwards and said, okay, we would like to hear more about push notifications, for example. How do I do that? Does Amazon provide any services that allow me to do push notifications? And yes, we do. So that's actually one of the next topics. And also we will have hopefully very soon another member of our team joining, Giovanni, which I want to say hi. He just joined our team today. I'm very excited to have him. So we'll have another Amazon evangelist joining our team very soon, hopefully. So we want to offer you guys as many, views into Amazon technology as possible. We have quite a lot coming over the next few months. We have, like Anisha said, we have a few exciting announcements coming. I think it's going to be a very exciting, spring for us. We were officially in spring. We know because we're all allergic. I think between me and Anisha, it's a competition on who's the sickest for spring. But yeah, tech wise is going to be super exciting. We have a lot of stuff coming. So since I don't really see more questions, again, guys, you can always reach out to us as usual. Please follow all of our channels on top here. Reach out to us on our Twitter handles here and there as well. Use the Amazon FireSide chat hashtag as well to reach out to us. We are here for you. We wanna provide you the best service. So let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you would like to see. We're all ears for what can you do best for you guys. So with that, I would say that we can actually terminate this session a little bit earlier than usual. Anisha, thank you so much for all your help with your awesome presentation. And I guess I will see you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks. Well, no, not a couple. Only one.
Only 1 week in one. Well,
only
see you
1 week.
in 2 weeks. Yes, in that sense. Only 1 week. We're off for 1 week, back the week after. All right.
Yeah, we will be back. Thank you, guys.
Good stuff. Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.